up?
Hello, hello, hello. Answers by Guess. What up there, Guess?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey. What's up, bud?
Yeah.
Week 12. Week
Yeah,
12. How was your Thanksgiving, man?
not too shabby. Yours?
Fantabulous. I ate a lot. I was in a food coma more than half the time, I feel like. But it was an excellent food coma. I'm pretty sure the games watch me more than I watch them. So,
Yeah. By the
yeah.
way, tonight's show is not brought to you by Java Rail. Both of us are extremely tired,
Oh, yes. As I
but it should be a
my
quick
coffee.
show. Make it a good show.
As always, guys, remember like us Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Patreon. Bye weeks this week: Arizona Cardinals at the Kansas City Chiefs. Just give us some of your thoughts on the Thanksgiving games.
For the most part, went pretty much how we thought. Andy Dalton could have had 4 touchdowns. Did one. I had to use him in a pinch. But it was Mooney. Surprising there. We have to get back on the horse of Komet because Dalton with Komet, they actually connected. So that was good to see because I was on Tuesday a little bit worried that Dalton wouldn't look his way. I thought it was just more of a Fields thing. So that's good. Detroit, your boy, my boy from earlier in the year, Josh Reynolds came through. I think that continues. Big game from him. Let's see, the Dallas, Oakland Vegas game was pretty much exactly as we thought. We said that, going off of last week with Brian Edwards or 2 weeks ago, I don't think that, we can really trust him. And I don't know what the deal is, but Cooper Kupp from Wish did his thing. Hunter Renfrow came through. Michael Gallup and Wilson did their thing just as we thought. Zeke owners, you got to worry. They're talking about shutting them down for a couple weeks. And Pollard has looked better for the most part. So I don't know what that has to do with really anything because every play's different. But when Pollard gets in the game, it looks like he's got a little extra bounce than Zeke has. But Zeke's got an injured knee. So if they hold him out a week or two, make sure you adjust accordingly. We'll keep you up to date on that. And then there was the Saints. Well, it's not Juwan Johnson, it's Nick Vannett. So there goes that idea. They're terrible. I don't know what they're doing making Ian Book inactive every week. Put him out there. What do you got to lose?
Yeah.
No clue. They think they're still in it, not with Simeon. No. And, that was the Buffalo game. And then Buffalo, Dawson Knox and Gabe Davis came through some, and Emmanuel Sanders doing exactly what we thought. He had those couple big games, and he's just dying away pretty much. And Diggs, we called him bouncing back a few weeks ago, and he just continues to kill it. So. Running back situation's a headache there. Moss was out, but Breda, still don't want anything to do with Breda. He looks good, but he gets hurt a lot.
Yeah, I actually recommended to somebody to drop Singletary. I'm like, you just don't know what the heck's going on. So it's like, even though he's the starter, I mean, it seems like everybody just gets touching the ball. So it's a tough situation. He ended up picking up, I think it was David Johnson for this week to play the Jets. And then he has other running backs. It's kind of just a filler for him for this week. So,
Yeah.
All right, let's go into the first game here. Pittsburgh Steelers at Cincinnati Bengals. Pittsburgh coming off of a loss, big Sunday night game. I mean, there was a lot of action in it. Who do we feel is going to be getting the ball on the Steelers side? Can we trust everybody on that side getting into this division game? Cincinnati, they won the game, but again, they just didn't look the greatest. I think Burrow ended up with 1 touchdown. Chase ended up with a few catches and a touchdown, but it really was the Mixon show. This Steelers defense is banged up right now. How do we see Cincinnati playing against them as far as from a wide receiver standpoint? Who should we be looking at? And then is it just the Mixon show, or can we start seeing some other guys like a P. Ryan or an Evans and stuff like that?
Yeah, Rob, you'll love this. Darko will love this. I think the Bengals bring it all. They're on a couple game skid. Offensively haven't looked good. Lost a bunch. I think that this is going to be like a mini type of Super Bowl type of thing. It's been the Steelers pretty much. I know the Ravens, but it's been the Steelers pretty much with that division. And this is a division rivalry. Do you think the Bengals bounce back? I think you want to get your Bengals in your lineup, the big names. Boyd and Higgins really only if you need them. But Chase will get one of his patented big TDs this week. Burrow bounces back. Mixon does his thing. The Steelers defense banged up, like you mentioned. Somebody was asking a question about quarterbacks. They had mentioned Big Ben as a possibility. They kept mentioning, well, one of them was Heineke, who you talked about, who you really liked on Tuesday. You've been talking about him for weeks. And I kept saying I still think I'd go with Heineke over Big Ben. You know, you got Monday night in your back pocket. They're at home. Not as tough of a defense that they're going against because the Bengals are okay. They spent a lot of money on defense, as Darko will tell us. But Big Ben just hasn't looked the same. I know they put up 37 points last week, but he just hasn't. A couple fluky things towards the end there got them in a high-scoring match with the Chargers last week. But, you know, you're going to play your Deontay and your Harris. But this is a game where I think that if you are shying away from your Bengals at all, never fear. I do think they bounce back in this one. Claypool's fine. Fryer moves fine.
All right.
They'll do some things on offense, but I think the Bengals will too. I think the Bengals win this one.
All right, going on to the next one here. My New York Jets at the Houston Texans. Jets played okay last week. Wilson's now the starter with the quarterback situation, both White and Flacco being on the COVID list. How does that affect the team? We've been seeing Elijah Moore going off. Michael Carter hit IR. So who are we looking at from a running back situation? Anybody else we could be trusting on this New York Jets team? On the flip side, the Texans beat the Titans. They looked pretty well. I mean, the defense actually stepped up. They're obviously going against this lowly Jets team that's playing just as bad as they are, except for last week. But again, this Texans team, is there anybody we're trusting playing? Are you starting everybody? Could this be a Cooks and Collins? What running backs are you looking at?
Yeah, for the Jets, it doesn't look like Corey Davis is going to play, so you got to get him out of your lineup. So you're looking at Crowder and Moore. The tight end, his name always escapes me, but he's been doing his thing for a few weeks if you're in a super pinch. And you know, Zach Wilson coming back, I do think it helps the offense, but they're down, you know, essentially their top two weapons if Davis doesn't play because Carter's not playing. I think Ty Johnson is certainly a play. A couple people picked him up a few weeks ago. He continues to put up good numbers. I think he keeps the same exact role, but probably gets a few more rushes, maybe a few more catches as well. And then Tevin Coleman's going to pick up the slack. I'm playing against Tevin Coleman this week. It was a late-minute swap by my opponent. They had Mark Ingram in, who I wish Mark Ingram would have played because he would have done nothing versus the Bills. Swapped him out, picked up Tevin Coleman. So that probably means Tevin Coleman's going to have a huge game. I hope he doesn't, but he's probably going to. I do not recommend playing him. But, you know, this type of stuff seems to always happen. I mean, I lost the Super Bowl because it happened to my opponent. I was playing, the wide receiver was called out. They picked up, you probably don't even know this name, Dennis Northcutt. Refer to him as Denny Northcutt for the Detroit Lions. Picked him up, and he had a ridiculous Week 16. Absolutely insane, and I ended up losing by like 4 points because he put up like over 20. So this type of stuff happens. Desperation pickups. That's what Tevin Coleman is. Houston Texans, they have my first runner-up for this week's guesstimator, and it was going to be Nico Collins. But I didn't go with Nico Collins simply because it's a name that we've said before. I know that we went Brian Edwards and we went MVS and we hit on those. But I still don't like the quarterback play, and the Jets defense is good enough. I think the Texans, whatever happened with them last week, you know, it is what it is. But Nico Collins is somebody in a pinch that I feel like is going to have a big week this week. I feel like they'll focus the majority of their attention on Cooks, still play Cooks. But Nico Collins is somebody who I think could have a pretty big surprise game against the Jets. I do think this one's going to be kind of high scoring. I feel like the Jets offense is good enough to move on the Texans, and the Jets defense is bad enough that the Texans could still sort of move the ball. They're running backs. I don't want anything to do with them. I don't want anything to do with Hilliard, David Johnson, or not Hilliard, Rex Burkhead, David Johnson. They got rid of Lindsey. I don't know. I don't want anything to do with it. Just find somebody else.
Gotcha, man. All right, let's go on to the next one here. Tampa Bay Bucks at the Indianapolis Colts. Tampa Bay coming off a big Monday night win against the Giants. A lot of guys out, though. Antonio Brown still, not a lot of guys. I guess Antonio Brown's still out. Gronk came back, didn't really do much. Evans and Godwin have obviously are must start. Can we start anybody else? I mean, we saw Rojo kind of come on a little bit. Does his additional touches affect Fournette more for your owners, or are you okay going and playing him against his Indianapolis Colts defense, who's been playing pretty well? On the flip side, obviously, they came off of a big win against the Buffalo Bills, 41 points. Jonathan Taylor went bananas last week. Michael Pittman was out of the cut. Everybody else was out of the cut. Can this be a game now where we see the opposite almost happen in a way compared to what we saw last week?
Well, I thought Taylor would be limited a little bit by the Bills last week. He absolutely was not, but I did say you play him no matter what, and hopefully you did. Now we're into the actual toughest, right, against the run. So we'll see what happens. But the Bucs know that they pretty much have to stop Taylor, because Taylor's who butters their bread, so to speak. And if they can stop Taylor and force Wentz into a few mistakes, the Bucs can come out victorious. But the Colts are one of the hottest teams in football at the moment. This is kind of who I thought they'd be, a pretty decent defense. With a great offense, and they actually have my number 2 runner-up for the Week 12 guesstimator, and that's Zach Pascal, because I do think that the way you beat the Bucs is through the air, and Pittman's an obvious play. Pascal's had a bad week or two, and a couple decent ones before that. I think that this could be a game where they have to use him quite a bit more in the slot. Couple deep shots, couple possession type plays, and the tight ends are probably going to have to be a little bit more involved as well against the Bucs, because I do think the Bucs do what they do best, and they work to limit Taylor. There's no way that you're benching him, but I do think the Colts are going to get into a position where they're going to have to throw the ball more. So maybe that means Nyheim Hines. You're not scared off with Hines versus this defense, because they stop the rush, not the pass-catching rush. That's not a rush. That's a receiving play. So I do think that that's what's going to happen. The Colts are going to get forced into the pass quite a bit. And for the Bucs, I mean, if you still have Gronk or you're using them and that's your tight end, okay. But it's Evans and it's Godwin, and that's pretty much it. I mean, you know how I feel about Fournette. We don't need to beat that horse. Ronald Jones came on last week to see if they continue to use him a little bit more, and just keep an eye out, because if something happens to Fournette, he's going to be a stud at the end of the year.
The touches that are happening over there, I mean, this should really be a really good game. I just have a feeling that it's not be as offensive as we think. I don't know. Maybe that's just me and kind of just thinking about the matchups. Usually better defenses, like you say, have better offensive games. I kind of feel like they're both really good offenses, but these defenses can really put a stop to those offenses. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. Atlanta Falcons at the Jacksonville Jags. Atlanta coming off their little mini bye, got beat up by the Patriots last week, or following Thursday, or past Thursday. The offense hasn't been moving. They've been taking starters out. Are we trusting starting any Atlanta Falcons? I know they're playing Jacksonville. Is this where they get the get-right game and you actually play every single player on the Falcons? Cordarrelle Patterson seems like he's coming back. What kind of difference does it make for their offense? Jacksonville lost last week against San Fran. Not a great game. J-Rob at the end did get the touchdown, seemed to be the most productive. Agnew now out. Does that mean that there's going to be a bump in Shenault, Marvin Jones Jr., or somebody else we should be thinking about?
Yeah, well, for the Falcons, is Ridley coming back? I saw that he was taken off the list, but I don't know if he's coming back. If he comes back this week or next week, whenever it is, I haven't heard anything. Obviously, it's going to be a boost. I wouldn't feel bad about playing Pitts. Look, a lot of people are going to get scared off. They played the Falcons or the Patriots last week, one of the best defenses in the league. We're absolutely shellacked. I think Pitts will bounce back. There's no need to touch any of the ancillary guys. Allison, all of a sudden, now he's out. He's hurt. So now we're back to Davis and Gallman. We'll see. Will they actually give the ball to Gallman? Just absolutely ridiculous occurrences here. But would not be surprised if Gallman does pretty well in this game if they actually give him the ball, because the Jags are pretty good against the run. But he's the best running back they have. I stick with that, even though Allison did what he did last week. Gallman is better than Allison. There's a reason Allison was cut by the Falcons, cut from the practice squad, re-signed off the couch. For whatever reason, they don't like Gallman. But if they use Gallman, you need somebody to keep an eye out. If he has a good game and you got an extra bench spot, you should pick him up before and just leave him there just in case. Because if Allison's going to be out for an extended period, Mike Davis isn't getting it done. So having a piece, a running back at this time with some burn, and if he doesn't, then you cut him loose. Same thing he did last week or 2 weeks ago or whenever he was the guesstimator. For the Jags, obviously, James Robinson. Yeah, I think Chenault is going to get a bump. I think they're going to use Chenault like they used Agnew. I think he's going to get some rushes. I think he's going to get a lot more targets. I stick with Dan Arnold. I think Marvin Jones is a decent play because of the Falcons secondary. But you'd have to be in a real pinch because just Lawrence hasn't really been looking his way. So I think Chenault is going to surprise and surface in this game. I think Agnew took his job pretty much. And without Agnew, they're going to have to use him like Agnew. They realize, hey, the way we ran the offense with this guy doing these types of things worked to a degree for us. Well, let's just plug Chenault in the same exact thing and have him do what he was doing. I think he's a good pick. I think we're using him this week in AVG. All right? We got him as our wide receiver 3. So
we do.
Yeah,
I think it's a good pick. The way they're describing it, you're right. I mean, if they use him in Agnew and actually get him into the backfield and kind of doing some trick plays or even just giving him some rushes, he needs to touch the ball to make things happen. That's what we saw. Chenault was the best after the catch. That's when he had his explosiveness. If you can give him the ball and be able to be explosive, you're right. We should reap the benefit there.
The one thing I'm going to say, and there's a couple of them, we'll see, but there's a couple. I talked about that one fantasy page. I know Chad Chadzinski liked one of my comments that I made. They made a comment about James Robinson. Get James Robinson in your lineup. So that's like the kiss of death when they do these memes and these posts with the player and saying they're going to have huge weeks. I hope not, because I'm using Robinson in at least 3 or 4 different leagues. So,
yikes. All right, so I'm writing that to not start.
The Falcons have a good rush defense. They have an underrated rush defense. It's the pass game that hurts them.
All right, let's go on to the next one here. Carolina Panthers at the Miami Dolphins. Carolina coming off to the loss to Washington. It was a good game, though. Cam actually played pretty well. He did have some accuracy. It seems like he was spreading the ball all around. Do we feel comfortable starting pretty much all of our Carolina Panthers? Your Robbie Andersons, your DJ Moores, obviously you're starting CMC, but anybody else that we can kind of be looking from that team that could potentially put some points up for us? Or even Cam. Is he okay as a fill-in this week? Against this Dolphins defense who's been playing better. Like you said, they're always opportunistic. They did play the Jets well. They did have a lot of interceptions last week and stuff like that. So it's like, are you comfortable starting that defense against the Cam Newton? And then from the offensive side, a lot of people concerned about starting Tua this week, especially against this Carolina defense. Should they be? And if he is going to go off, who's going to be the one that's going to be going, or who's going to be getting the ball?
Yeah, this is a huge game for both quarterbacks. Cam with a second start going against very tough Dolphins defense, surging Dolphins defense at home. And Tua trying to solidify himself as a bona fide starter going against the Panthers secondary, which is probably the best in the league. It's going to be tough. If you've got an option outside of the wide receivers for the Dolphins, I would not be against using the other option. Waddle's pretty much an automatic start, but if you've got somebody better, not against it. However, just because it's two good defenses doesn't mean it's going to be a low-scoring game. In fact, if you watch the show at all for the past 4.5 seasons, two good defenses usually amounts to a lot of offensive fireworks for whatever reason. And like I said, these two quarterbacks, both of them, Cam has a name, but he's trying to remake his name as somebody who can still play and play at a high level. Tua has a name, but just as a draft pick, he's trying to solidify it. The worst part is these guys just want to push the issue and ball out. I actually had Tua as a starter in one league because of Kyler, and I've been using him. And when he wasn't there, I used, I think, Daniel Jones, but using Tua. And this week I picked up Cam, and I'm playing Cam over Tua. So if you have a Cam Tua question, I'm going with Cam. I like the rushing yards aspect. I like the checkdowns to CMC aspect. And I do think that Robbie Anderson, we saw him surface up a little bit. I think it just continues. Wouldn't surprise me if there's a deep shot in this game with him. Cam looked at Tommy Tremble a little bit last week. I don't think you can start him. DJ Moore's fine. Gesicki, you got to use him because it's the corners that are really good.
Just to give you a heads up as well. So
right.
That makes the difference.
Right. Yeah, the corners, and that's what I was going to say, one less tight end. So, Jeremy, I know you're watching. Don't get scared off by Gesicki because you always got a Gesicki question. I think this is a good week to start him. He's a safety blanket. He can work up the seams over the linebackers, and I think that's how you can beat the Carolina defense. So I think a big Gesicki game is in the books here because the corners are going to be doing what they can do to shut down. But they got the small little Albert Wilsons and the Isaiah Fords. They still don't have Parker. Preston Williams, they don't like very much. So it's just Waddle. And I just feel like they will do what they have to do to shut down Waddle. Makes me very, very nervous this week. And he's like a 10-target-a-game guy. And I feel like Tua's going to have to look elsewhere. And I still don't trust the running backs there. Duke Johnson, maybe they use him a little more this week to beat this defense. But it's like another game. Play the names unless you got the better options. It's like this is getting too routine here. We got to get sexy. What do you got for me?
I just looking at the running backs for the Dolphins. It's like you have so many names that we've seen before. So Gaskin, Duke Johnson, Laird, Lindsey, Ahmed. It's like we've seen all these guys do something, but that's 5 running backs that potentially could be used in a game. Yeah. It's like, I mean, it's just a situation just to stay away from. But it's just funny that it's like, damn, at some points in these guys' careers, I mean, not your Ahmed, I mean, he played okay, but your Lindsey, Duke Johnson, those guys have looked really good for other teams, and now they're like super backups just in casers, and that's within a year and a half, almost in a sense. So, all right, let's go on to the next one here. Tennessee Titans at the New England Patriots. Tennessee's banged up, man. I can even probably name the players on here for you to start, to be honest. So I'm just going to let you talk about the Titans. On the flip side, New England coming off the mini bye, playing Atlanta well. A lot of Mac Jones questions I'm seeing out there. I guess to fill in for Mahomes, Kyler hasn't been there, but is he a start against this Tennessee defense who tends to be trending up? On the running back side, you were mentioning on Tuesday that you think it's Stevenson and Harris are going to be a 50-50 split. Harris still with the neck injury. So is Stevenson a must start now?
Well, Stevenson's also banged up. And I own both of them in multiple leagues because I picked up Stevenson because Harris was seemingly always getting banged up. So it's like at one point I was putting Stevenson at one point this week over Harris, and then the news came out that Stevenson was hurt on Wednesday or Thursday. So I flipped him. Now I have Harris starting. If you only have one, I think it'd be okay. But the Titans do have a good rush defense. I think that the one that people might get disappointed in, and that's if something that I think is going to happen doesn't, um, and that's Mac Jones. The one person I was talking about earlier that was asking the quarterback question, they talked about Big Ben, and they kept bringing up, and I kept bringing up, what the heck, your boy Heineke. Um, he was like, well, what about Mac Jones? I want to use Mac Jones. I'm like, listen, they're at home. Tennessee has as close to zero offensive potential as you can get at this point in time against this Patriots defense, who is playing like they're the best in the league, right up there with the Panthers in the secondary. Um, how much will Mac Jones have to throw? And that's the worrisome point. So if you're thinking about using Mac Jones, maybe you're Patrick Mahomes owner, or Kyler Murray, and you've been using Mac Jones, you have to worry about game flow. Will the Titans be able to score points? The running back situation with Hilliard and Foreman is like, against the Patriots, really? I don't know about that. And their wide receivers, they do have the Week 12 guesstimator.
And may that be?
I mentioned him on Tuesday night, and he was somebody who I really liked in the preseason. They drafted him, and I was like, oh, this is a perfect fit. And then what happens is then they got Julio, and so then Josh Reynolds went to the 3. This guy became expendable, and they cut him. Then they must have signed him back to the practice squad at some point, and I missed it. All of a sudden, he popped up in last week's game. Maybe it was the week before. Scored a touchdown last week. Dez Fitzpatrick. With no A.J. Brown, no Marcus Johnson, it's Ikai Nakina as their number 1. And Dez Fitzpatrick is their number 2. This is why Dez Fitzpatrick is the guesstimator, because Bill Belichick shuts down the top guy. He's got to be coming into this game thinking Nick Westbrook-Akina is the number 1. He's played the most weeks. He's had the best production. He had the best week last week. People are rushing out. People just picked up Westbrook-Akina in a couple leagues that I'm in. When they heard the A.J. Brown news, I'm thinking Dez Fitzpatrick is the one that benefits the most. He got some game snaps under his belt. He played really, really well. He's in the number 2 role. He won't be as targeted by Bill Belichick this week. They were prepping for A.J. Brown and preparing for Westbrook-Akina. With A.J. Brown out, the prep for A.J. Brown shifts to the number 2. And they have to scramble to worry about who's the other guy going to be. Now, they also have Chester Rogers, who is technically, I would say, their number 2. So Dez is their number 3. I just feel like he's going to go under the radar in the Patriots defense, at least early on, until he does something. If he does something, all right, we got it in the bag. They could lock him down from that point. You got your fantasy points. What does it matter? He could score, 2 receptions for 50 yards and a touchdown. That's all you need if you're playing a guesstimator. And if you're grabbing a guesstimator just to put in the bench just in case, this week I don't see anybody better than Dez Fitzpatrick. They're going to have to throw the ball. It's going to be very tough to run against the Patriots. I see them playing from behind for the majority of the game, on the road, tough environment. They're going to need somebody to step up. And I think Dez Fitzpatrick, the rookie, got his second lease on NFL life from the team that drafted him. He made it count last week, and I think that trend continues, and he gets even more involved this week. He's your Week 12 guesstimator.
All right. Let's go on to the next one here. Philadelphia Eagles at the New York Giants. Eagles coming off of a win against the Saints last week. The defense has really been stepping up, man. Hurts is, I think, ranked number 1 also as far as from a QB fantasy perspective. They're all systems go. Am I comfortable starting a Miles Sanders? Am I comfortable starting a Devonta Smith? Obviously, Goddard would be a good fill. Eagles defense against this lowly Giants team that can't move the ball. Seems like Tony's doubtful on that side. Shepard is out. Barkley doesn't look like himself, really. Are you starting any Giants? And if you are starting any, who are they?
I'm not. They only have two people that you could start aside from Barkley. I mean, you're either going to start Ingram or you're going to start Galladay. And I don't know. But this is the Giants, right? This is what the Giants do. The Giants look terrible. And then they get a home game, especially in the division, against a team that's hot and that should be able to beat them. And everybody bets on the Eagles, and the Giants come out and win this game by 10 points. Would not surprise me if the Giants win this game by a touchdown or more. Would not. Because that's just how the Giants are, and it's been that way forever, and that's how this NFL season has been. Let's be honest. So the Eagles, hot, in the right direction, beating people down, running all over people, scoring all over people. Giants can't get out of their own way, can't get healthy. They'll win. Write it in pen, Rob. Write it in marker.
I wrote Giants win by 10, and I double underlined the number 10.
and there's no reason it should happen. But if it does, then it's going to be those two guys or Barkley that get it done. Unless they, Colin Johnson, I believe they still have. No clue who else they have at wide receiver. I'm going to be honest because I have no interest, and neither should you. For the Falcons, it's the names. It's Goddard. It's Smith. And if you're absolutely in a pinch, I don't even think that we should bother. But if you're pinch, Rager is still playing football, and so is Quez Watkins. But they're just not throwing the ball. So if the Giants do somehow score, like I think that this wacky season and wacky team of history in the Giants could be, then maybe Quez Watkins and Rager get involved, but you don't have to take that. They're going to run as much as they possibly can. And with no Jordan Howard this week, you're going to see Gainwell play in this game. So it's going to be Gainwell, Scott, and I really love Miles Sanders in this game. I think Miles Sanders is going to have a good game.
He looked good last week, man.
He looked good before the injury.
Yeah.
He looked good before that was the Bucs game before the injury, right? So I like Miles Sanders a lot in this one. I mean, the Eagles should win. They should run all over them. They should be able to throw all over them. It's just the Giants are so weird. They are. And anybody who's a Giants fan knows this. I think, Alan, you're a Giants fan. Like, this is what the Giants do. They look terrible. Then all of a sudden they get a home game against a team that should be able to beat them, and they have an amazing performance. It's like it happened with Eli, and I feel like it happens with Daniel Jones. I feel like it will happen again. And let's just hope they don't shut down the Eagles if we're using Eagles players, because I'm using Eagles players, and I think everybody should be.
I'm starting the Eagles defense in my most important league, which makes me a little nervous, but I don't have very much of a choice. So
we're using the Eagles in answers by guess. There's just another reason why the Giants offense will show up. So.
All right, let's go on to the next one here. Los Angeles Chargers at the Denver Broncos. Los Angeles, we mentioned before, coming off of a big win against Pittsburgh on Sunday Night Football. Herbert showed back up, man. He's like, hey, listen, guys, I still want to play this game of football. Are we comfortable starting all of our Chargers? From that perspective, then, if he's going to be playing the way he did, this is a division game. Denver tends to play them pretty well. On the flip side, Denver, Javonte should be getting the ball, but Melvin Gordon's still there. It's a 50-50 split. Are we comfortable starting these guys with the bye week, potentially with the Clyde Edwards out and so on and so forth? This defense, could they stop a Herbert? They've been playing really well at least from my perspective. Can you see who else will be stepping up as far as from a Broncos perspective?
Well, we'll start with the Chargers because they're easy. The four names, you start them: Herbert, Eckler, Williams, Allen. Everybody else, the tight ends with the Cook, Parham, and Anderson, they cancel each other out. All the extra guys, don't worry about them. The only worries you have with those four players I told you to start for the Chargers is that the Broncos defense, as you alluded to has been they play pretty well, and they play even better in Denver at Mile High. And I think if anything stops Herbert, it's the thin air, so to speak. It's Mile High. It's tough to win. They play better there. So if this game was in LA, to the moon with your Chargers. But since it's in Denver, they'll be able to limit just enough, and some funny things will occur. And for Denver, in the most important league, Fantasize Me, I had Tony in all week, and even before the Tony doubtful and the injury stuff started to pop up, I had Cortland Sutton sitting on my bench, and I was like, I kind of get a feeling Cortland Sutton's going to have a big game. He's had a few down weeks. He signed his big contract. So I got a feeling he's going to have a big week. And then Tony's doubtful, so that was easy. I was like, yes, I get to do it. Because I was like, kick myself if, Tony is a good game. But I got to put him in. And I'm telling you, if you've been benching Cortland Sutton last week because of the week before, or you're thinking about it this week because of the 2 weeks before, I got a feeling he shows up in this one. It's been too long. It's been every game since Judy's been back. And I feel like the Chargers defense is good enough to limit Judy and let Sutton sneak by just a little. And I think they look to get Sutton involved. You don't just pay people money and say, all right, just keep throwing the ball twice a game. These millions of dollars, they don't mean anything. You got to think, they're like, listen, we gave him some money. We want you to use him. We know how good he is. We know a special player. We got to target. You got to target these guys. And the head coach will be like, it's a game plan. We'll do what we can do in the game. But in the back of their mind, they're thinking, all right, we got to get this guy involved. And I guarantee it's how it went down. I think Sutton's going to have a game. Play Judy if you want, of course, fan. And that Facebook page, they put one of Javonte Williams. It's Javonte time with a rocket going to the sky. Everybody in the comments, oh, great, thanks. Oh, geez. And a couple people called out the obvious, which is you say this every week, or you said this 10 weeks ago or whatever. But like, it really is. And I can see it happening. But I've said that every single week. Until they stop using Melvin Gordon more than they should and more than Javonte, it's never going to happen. But I'm using them this week. We're using them, Rob. And the reason we're using him is because we don't trust Elijah Mitchell. I feel like they'll hold him out. So if you're in a situation with like us, with Elijah Mitchell, or one of these iffy quarterback type thingamajigs, then you could throw Javonte in there.
Yeah, man, I want Javonte to break out, man. I have him in Fantasize Me as well. My bench running backs are really solid. Swift going out on me hurt on that Thursday game. I kind of was like, man, I really wish I would have started somebody else, but obviously you can't predict injuries. But Swift was already on the cusp, and I still went with him. I'm like, I'm going to take it. I think Detroit can win the game. And as soon as they were looking for him, it was like the same kind of thing with Tony as well. Remember when that happened, where he's like, all right, Tony, injury, Dunsky. I think Swift touched the ball like 9 times in like a minute and a half, it seemed like.
Yeah. And you know what? To talk about that real quick, they got that Igwe. The one run.
What?
Igwe.
Yeah, I think that's
the one running back.
Yeah.
Every single time he gets the ball, he gets 1 or 2 carries a game. He busts through for like a 15-plus yard game. So fast. And then they never use him again.
It's like, never.
I don't understand. But if any of you watching this right now, and you watched the Detroit game on Thanksgiving, which most of you probably did, and then either a week or 2 ago, he came into the game. Igwe is his last name. He touched the ball 1 or 2 times that game, and 1 time this week, and it was a straight burst through the middle, so fast, strong and shifty, and never plays again. It's like, this dude could be a stud. Like, he could be a stud. Like, if you're in a dynasty league and you got extra bench spots, like, I would be scooping this guy because Swift has injury history. Jamal Williams has injury history. Jamar Jefferson keeps getting hurt. And if they ever turn over the keys to this Igwe, he looks really good. I have no clue where he came from, but he looks really good to me. And every time I'm like, oh my God. And then they show the replay and he's just like, he's like so much faster than everybody else on the field. All right, sorry. But play Javonte, because I like Javonte this week, but we just have to worry about Gordon. That's it.
Gordon just steals the goal line carries, man. That's what kind of sucks. I mean, you get all the decent yards, the receiving and stuff like that. You'll get that 10, 11 points. That touchdown is what gives you that little extra boost, getting to that 17, 18 range that you would want to get out of a running back.
Imagine if Gordon went away like he should have week 1 or in the preseason or week 2. Like Javonte, he'd be right up there with Najee Harris.
I was just about to make the same comparison. All right, let's go on to the next one here. Los Angeles Rams at your Green Bay Packers. Rams coming off the bye week, but 2 losses before that. I'm thinking the Rams are like, this is our get-right game. We have the bye week. We're going against Green Bay, who should be pissed off for the way they lost last week. Is this a game where you're starting anybody and everybody that can be on this field? I'm feeling like yes is going to be the answer. Go for it.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to the next game here.
The one good thing you have as a Green Bay Packer fan is that they know Matt Stafford. They know him well. They've had great success against him. I'll say at worst, at best, 51% of the success is due to it being the Lions. But some of it's due to it being Stafford. You know, they know his what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. The things he does. But he's in a new offense, the Rams, and they got tons of weapons, a great head coach, and the best wide receiver to this point. And Odell, I think he's a fine play this week. He had a bye week and a ton of extra time. And with no Robert Woods, he's their clear-cut number 2. And they're going to use him. They're going to target him. He's acclimated now. I think he's a fine play this week. And just because, like what Rob said, it's like this game should be offensive fireworks. And with it being in Green Bay, I think it gives them a little bit of an edge. This is a game that, on paper, beginning of the season, I would think that most people would say the Rams would walk away with it. At this point in the season, most people would probably say the Rams will probably win. I got a feeling Green Bay sneaks this one out. Would not be surprised if the Rams just murder them. But I have a feeling, and I don't know if it's my heart or my head, that Green Bay sneaks this one out. I think coming off the loss last week, got them focused. And I think that they're ready for the task of this high-powered offense. The trouble is going to be the defense. Is Lazard playing?
I think he was still questionable, if I'm not mistaken.
If Lazard plays, it's going to help greatly. But, you know, I think that the MVS thing is real. I think in the preseason I talked up MVS, and he was hurt. I think 50-50. It's real. Yeah, I think the MVS thing is real. I think he's a fine play. DeGuara got a touchdown. He's getting used a little more. Aaron doesn't like his tight ends. Guess what? You better like them this week, because against this defense, you're going to need them. They're going to do everything they can. Jalen Ramsey on Devontae. It's going to be a hell of a matchup. And they're saying Aaron Jones might play. I don't see a reason that they do that. If Aaron Jones plays, you got to bench Dylan, I think. But if he doesn't play, then I think that you probably should start Dylan, even against a tough defense. I'm in a position where it's A.J. Dillon. Before they talked about Jones coming back, I had him in the starting lineup, but then I swapped it out for James Robinson. And then when they started talking about Aaron Jones coming back, I said, all right, I can live with it. But I don't think Aaron Jones is going to play, but I think I'm still just going to play James Robinson over A.J. Dillon. Just because the Rams' defensive line is so good. They're so good. But that's another great matchup in this game.
I'm on the fence too, man. I have Dylan right now in my flex, and if Aaron Jones goes, you're right. I may have to put somebody else in there. I mean, I really don't have that great of choices, especially with the Thursday games that already have happened. But Van Jefferson may be going in there, which I don't think is a bad play this week. I think you're right. It's going to be a little bit of offense. Odell, I can definitely see getting some more touches, but Van Jefferson might be right there with him. We got to see what happens. I mean, it's going to be tough. You're right. I think, obviously, I mean, who's it? King? Not King. Who's the Alexander? Which one's the best corner on Green Bay?
Well, King, he's been hurt. Alexander's been hurt for a while. He's the best
That's
one.
right. Yeah. I can't think of who the kid is. Maybe I'm just I know there's a corner that's been kind of playing the number one right now, and I don't know if he would be on Cooper Kupp. I can see him. Samuel, maybe that. I don't remember off the top of my head. I have to look it up, to be honest with you. But I don't feel he'll be on Cooper Kupp. I think he'll be on Odell and trying to stop the deep ball from happening.
Yeah, not Samuel. It was the guy. As I'm thinking, because Samuel used to play for the Eagles. He was the ex-Eagle, the one that was guarding A.J. Green in the infamous A.J. Green retired play.
Yeah, I know who you're talking. I can't think of his name.
I can't think of his name either.
All right, let's go on to the next one here.
Potatoes in my ears.
Yeah, my brain doesn't work the same way at the age of 36 here. All right, Minnesota Vikings at the San Francisco 49ers. Minnesota coming off the big win against Green Bay. Everybody looked good, man. You called it. You said Minnesota will step up. They look good. They Cook runs all over Green Bay, so on and so forth. The San Francisco team seems pretty legit, man. Do we see a repeat kind of what this game was last week for the Vikings, the same kind of concept? They are away. They did have to travel. Are we comfortable starting all those guys? On the flip side, you mentioned Eli Mitchell seems to have the finger. They're saying he's practicing. If he does go, are you comfortable starting him? Ayuk, you've been saying ride the train. Are we continuing to ride the train for Ayuk? And then obviously you're starting Debo and Kittle, right?
Yeah, and this was who I suggested to a couple different people, actually. I think Jimmy G is going to have a good game. I really like Jimmy Garoppolo in this one. I think he's looking pretty good. Ayuk is back. Good for you. Debo, killing it. And Kittle, every single game, I feel like he's just getting stronger and faster and back into game shape. I think the 49ers win this one. I think Jimmy G has a great game. I think their defense does enough to get after Cousins. But I'm not benching Jefferson or Cook. I think the one question mark is Thielen, but Thielen just continues to get it done. So I wouldn't roster him. And I can't recommend him because I wasn't on board with him. But if you've been using them, why not? They're going to need some weapons. I thought Osborne would do a little more last week. Might be needed in this one. I think that the offensive plays in this one for the extras is Jimmy Garoppolo. I think that he's a great quarterback fill-in for this week if you're a Pat Mahomes owner. He's my number one. Like if you're watching, because you're always asking the quarterback questions. I don't think you asked it this week. Maybe you did and I missed it. I like Jimmy G a lot this week.
I can see him playing well. I mean, the way he's been moving the ball, the way they've been utilizing Debo, it actually creates that offense to be so much better. I think Eli Mitchell may hinder that a little bit if he does play, because then you have to worry about, fumbling, so on and so forth. If they can keep possession of the ball and the way they're moving it, Jimmy G, yeah, you're right, man. Should be a fine play.
Right.
Minnesota defense hasn't been playing great either, so.
Rasul Douglas. Is that who you were talking about?
That's who I was talking about.
Or was it Savage?
No, Douglas was the one I was talking about.
Yeah. He's the ex-Eagle, and that's why I said Samuel.
Yeah.
Asante Samuel, but that's going way back.
His
son plays in the league now. But
Russell Douglas was the one I was thinking about.
I don't think that Mitchell plays, and Wilson, although he didn't look great last week, we've seen him have flashes before. If you're in a pinch, he's a fine play because they're going to use the run. He could have had a touchdown last week. So I would not be jumping off the Wilson train just yet, especially if Mitchell doesn't play. I think Wilson's fine in this one. I think 49ers put up points. I think Jimmy G's going to have a really nice week.
All right. Let's go on to Sunday Night Football here. Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens. Cleveland barely beat Detroit last week. I mean, this team is just kind of suffering as far as from an offensive standpoint, but they are getting Kareem Hunt back. That's what the duo was. It was Chubb and Hunt. It was really pushing the ball, running the ball, which opened things up to be able to actually have some good offensive games. Do we see that happening against this Baltimore Ravens defense, whose name is good, but played well last week against the Chicago Bears, especially with Lamar Jackson out? For Baltimore, Lamar is back. Hollywood's questionable, but seems like he's coming back. How should we be looking at this offense, and who we're using from this offense for the Ravens this week?
I think you use who you've been using. What is this trend this week? Lamar's back, so that's going to help the wide receivers. Huntley didn't look terrible last week.
He was so amped after the game, man.
Maybe it's because it's week 12, and it's the time of the year where we don't need to get too sexy, and that's why we're just using who we're using. Maybe that's the only reason that I feel this way. But you use Bateman, Brown's back, you throw him in. The Browns defense is good, but I'm a closet Browns fan. I say it all the time. Absolutely Superman crush on Baker Mayfield. Dude's banged up, and I just see some short fields for Baltimore. Lamar being able to do what Lamar does, and some extra scoring opportunities for the likes of Bateman and Brown and Andrews. The running back situation, that's where I'd kind of be like, because Murray's back, Freeman. They also have Tyson if they ever decide to use him again. This was right around the time of the year I thought that they were sort of saving him for, getting him acclimated with NFL football. So I would stay away from the Baltimore running backs, but the pass catchers with Lamar back, I think that they'll benefit. I think they'll get a couple short fields. I hate to say it, but I kind of get the feeling that the Ravens sort of make easy work with the Browns. Baker being as banged up as he is, it's tough. It's absolutely tough. And, Jarvis Landry being your real only weapon. DPJ's also banged up, but he'll probably play. The 3 tight ends. I mean, he's going to need his tight ends, and that's why earlier in the week I was kind of like, I kind of get a feeling about Austin Hooper. But Austin Hooper is somebody I didn't like going into the season, so I can't really recommend him. But I kind of get a feeling about Austin Hooper because he's going to need to get rid of the ball quick. Short throws. That's why Kareem Hunt's huge, like you mentioned. Check downs to Hunt, check downs to Chubb, run the ball with both, use the tight ends. If they do that and kill the clock, it will kill the Ravens' offensive players. But if the Ravens' defense gets after Baker and bangs him up even more, it's going to be a long day for the Browns and a lot of short fields for the Ravens. And that's why I'm fine just using your Ravens. The Browns, I'd be a little bit worried, unless it's the 2 running backs. But I'm using both of them, of course.
All right, let's go on to the last game here. Seattle Seahawks at the Washington football team. Let's start with Seattle. Homer's out. Penny's out. Alex Collins did come off of the final injury report, but he was banged up during the week. Seeing DJ Dallas being picked up all over the place. Are you comfortable starting a DJ Dallas against this Washington football team? Obviously, Russ hasn't been cooking the way we've seen him cook before. Is this a get-right game for him? Can we start a Metcalf and a Lockett with confidence? On the flip side, I've been pumping up Heineke all week long. I may be starting Heineke over Mac Jones in one of my leagues. I may be starting Washington football team over another defense in one of my leagues. Am I crazy? Or do we see this offense actually playing pretty well? Gibson on the injury report, but came off. Looks like he's now healthy. Could he have a good game against this Seattle run defense that can't stop anybody?
I'm playing Gibson. if I have to, if I've been using them. And, of course, McLaurin, Scary Terry, you got to throw him in. Curtis Samuel's probably going to play. We'll see what even amounts with him. I know. I'm the one that told you, don't worry about him, Rob.
I know. I still love him with all my heart and soul for some reason, man.
But we'll see. We'll see if he makes a difference for this team. DeAndre Carter, if you've been rolling with that, why not? I do like Heineke in this one. I think Monday night, I think the big stage is where he plays well. And I have these glimpses of just the stadium in Washington just going nuts in this game. Like big defensive plays, big offensive plays. The home field advantage in the Monday Night Magic, I think, will be in full effect in this game. And I don't like to go too much off of recency bias and past production. But yeah, Russ doesn't look right. The offense doesn't look right. I like DJ Dallas as a pickup. I don't think I'd play him in this one because Collins is still there. But season long, dynasty, maybe they move on from Carson to some degree, if at all possible. And they'll probably draft somebody, but maybe they give DJ Dallas a longer look. Metcalf's going to be needed. Lockett's going to be needed. Your boy, Fred Swain. We'll see if he comes. But listen, I feel like this is it. Right? Russ on the national stage, if he lays another egg, big questions are going to be asked. And people are going to want answers about what's going on. And maybe we get to see Jacob Eason.
Your boy.
They'll throw freaking Geno Smith in there again.
You know that.
I don't think it'll come to that. I heard some rumors about Russ, some teams that they were saying need to trade for Russell Wilson. I feel like the Giants were one of them. There was a big trade rumor going out that the Giants were going to go after Russell Wilson after the season. Yeah. So I wonder if they would be sending Daniel Jones to the Seahawks. But that's neither here nor there. Well, it's there, but it's not here. I'd play the two wide receivers, Lockett, if I absolutely had to. There's no reason to bench DK. But I just feel like the Monday Night Magic and the home field advantage is going to be in full effect here. And if I could stay away from Seahawks, I would be okay.
Agreed. I have DK starting. It's just because of a Monday nighter, but you're right.
You have to, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so Washington's secondary isn't good. Their front line is pretty good, but their secondary is just it's bad. So I'm kind of hoping for a higher scoring game, but I could see Russ making some mistakes too, man. Maybe just trying to win the game too much and overthrowing the ball like we saw, especially against Green Bay. I could see a kind of game like that too. So. All right, look at that. Right on the dot almost It's time for questions.
All
right, let's roll through them here.
Yeah.
Tim W. with the question, New England defense or Philly defense?
Philly's on the road. I feel like some weird things are going to happen in that game for the Giants. I'm using the Philly defense, but if I could use New England, I'd use them. So New England.
I agree with that. New England would be my first choice as well. Robert T. It's not me. Just throwing it out there. Pick 2 PPR, Waddle, Cooks, or Lockett?
I'm going to go Cooks, definitely. And I talked about the Waddle thing. I mean, it really does make me nervous. I feel like tough defenses can shut him down. He's a rookie. Lockett is so boomer bust, though. But I'm going to go with the Monday Night Magic. I'm going to go with Cooks and Lockett.
Wow.
I'm going to go Cooks and Lockett, and I'm going to pray for one big one. That's all I need. I just need Lockett to beat the Washington secondary for a bomb. And I feel like
it's definitely possible, yeah.
I feel like that's going to be the hope that Seattle's going to have. Is just let him go straight down and just let Russ chuck it. And I think that he'll catch one. So let's go Cooks and Lockett.
I could definitely see him going up the seam kind of thing, thinking that they're going to have him stop in the middle for a quick pass and taking off, and that being the way he would score. All right, Alan, with a question here. Who was last week's and this week's guesstimator?
Last week was Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and this week is Dez Fitzpatrick.
I'll put his name up there again. Dez Fitzpatrick. All right. Wesley with the question, DK Metcalf or Brandon Ayuk? Good question.
Great question, Wesley. I see you posted as soon as we went live. We do the questions at 10, so hopefully you stuck around. I'm going to go with Ayuk, and that's very tough. I just feel like he's starting to heat up. I feel like Jimmy G's going to have a big game. I know it's very tough to do. If I was in your shoes, I'd really have to go with my gut because benching DK is like sacrilegious. And if this was any other week in the year, I think I'm saying DK. I just feel like the Niners at home, I feel like Jimmy G's going to have a day, and Ayuk has been trending up. I think DK will be okay. They'll need him to just stay competitive. But I'm going to go with Ayuk, and I think he'll do just better, just a little better. 3 or 4 points.
All right. Kenny with the question here. I got a doozy for y'all. Start 2 at running back. Hilliard, Stevenson, Collins, Coleman, or Burkhead?
If Stevenson plays and isn't that banged up, I want to see. I haven't read anything about him today. I think I'd go Stevenson and Collins, and I don't even like Collins. No. It's tough. I don't like Collins. I don't like any of them. Coleman's going to have a good game because of what I mentioned in the show. Team I'm playing against had to pick him up because Mark Ingram didn't play. Mark Ingram would have been a dud against the Bills. And he just picked up somebody that's probably going to score 10 to 15 fantasy points in Coleman. He'll probably get a couple close touchdowns somehow. I don't like any of them, but I'm playing Stevenson for sure if he plays. And
I think Collins would be my other choice. Take some Monday night action. That's the only part. That's where it comes from me.
There you go. Yeah, because if they get close, they're going to give it to him to pound it in.
Correct. All right, Josh asked with the question, running back help. Pick 2, Aaron Jones, questionable versus Rams, J-Rob versus Atlanta, Miles Sanders versus Giants, Eli Mitchell versus Vikings.
There's the easy one, Josh. J-Rob and Miles Sanders, because I don't think Jones should play, so I don't think he will, and I don't think Eli Mitchell's going to play. I'm going to go with J-Rob and Miles Sanders.
All right. Flex any of those players above from previous question, or DJ Moore versus Miami?
I'll go DJ Moore. I mean, I have to. The other 2, I don't think they play.
Okay. And if Eli Mitchell does go, would you still go DJ Moore?
Yeah, because I don't trust the hand just yet. I think we take 1 more week away. They say you couldn't even carry it in that hand. So it's like, what are you going to do? You can't just use one hand.
All right. Josh with another one here. Tight end, Gronk versus Indy or Kittle versus Vikings?
Kittle. I'm all in on the Niners this week.
I agree. Kittle's been trending up tremendously. All right, Josue with the question here. Should I flex Melvin Gordon versus Chargers or Jeff Wilson if Mitchell is out versus Seattle? They're not playing Seattle this week.
No, they're not, but they're playing Minnesota. But I would use Wilson if Mitchell is out for sure. And I know, I feel like he could have had 1 touchdown catch and 1 touchdown run last week. He had low yardage production, but I feel like that was just an instance. And if Mitchell's out, they're going to use him. And I think that he'll get you a touchdown. I know Gordon will probably get you a touchdown too. But I'm going to use Wilson because he's not really splitting time with anybody good. Melvin Gordon's splitting time with the best rookie running back aside from Najee, I guess.
All right. Josue with another one here. Jags or Washington football team defense?
Oh, that's a tough one. Go with the football team on Monday night a lot of times there's defensive touchdowns and stuff that happen. So go with them. Jags defense is sneaky good, but Atlanta has looked terrible, and it wouldn't surprise me if their offense gets back on board in this game against the Jags. So I'm going to go with Washington.
All right, Jeremy, not so good of a week. I played Bears D, Monty, and Zeke. My opponent played Pats D that got 26 points. Not looking good.
You mean the Bills D?
Bills defense.
Zeke was okay. Zeke got a touchdown. He was over double digits. Monty was all right. I think you're okay. I mean, I'm playing against Bills D too, and I used the Bears D and Zeke. They don't have Monty. But I did use Gallup and who's the other one I used? Gallup and somebody else, another wide receiver, I thought.
Was this Dynasty?
No, fantasize me. Oh, Mooney.
Oh, Mooney.
Mooney had a good game. And I'm projected to lose, but I don't care because I'm going to win. Get it in your head so you can get it in your hand.
I have two who use Coleman and AB. Sorry, I don't know why I said it that way. I have to use Coleman and ABG. Yeah, man. It's not a bad choice.
Like I said, he's probably going to go off. He shouldn't, but he probably will.
All right, start two, one wide receiver and one flex. Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon, Bateman, Higgins, Lockett.
Well, I think I would use Bateman over Lockett, but I like Lockett. I wish it was one running back and one flex because then I'd just use the Broncos. And I'm going to say Javonte, but it's probably Melvin Gordon's probably going to have a better game. But I'm going to go with Bateman and Javonte, but Lockett is super close because I do think Lockett's going to catch a deep touchdown.
All right, Alan with another one here. Start one, Jimmy G, Heineken, Big Ben, or Tua?
I think I got to stick with Jimmy G. I've been saying it all night. I've been feeling it all week. Heineke is number 2, though. So I would eliminate Big Ben and Tua. I could see Tua responding and having a good game, but the deck stacked against him, and Big Ben just hasn't looked great. And they're going to be coming for him in Cincy. So it's Jimmy G 1, Heineke number 2.
For me, it's the opposite, but Jimmy G is not a bad option, man, to be honest with you. Minnesota defense makes me a little bit more worried than Seattle. Jeremy with Wilson or Wentz? I'm going Wentz, man.
Yeah, you might as well go Wentz.
Tampa Bay can be thrown on.
Yeah.
Josue, I just saw I put Jeff Wilson versus Seattle. Oh, I meant Minnesota. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Sorry, but yeah. Trust me, I was on week, I think, 13 for a little bit. I'm like, what games am I even talking about here? Would you start McLaurin or Elijah Moore this week over Devontae Adams or Jamar Chase?
Holy smokes.
First of all, good options to have there.
Yeah. I don't know how you sit Devontae Adams. I mean, I feel like I'd rather have McLaurin or Elijah Moore than Devontae Adams this week, but I'm not sitting Devontae Adams. I mean, that's just, if your balls tell you to do it, you got to do it.
Get that little tingle going.
And I think Chase bounces back this week and has one of his ridiculous games with like 2 really big touchdowns minimum. So I'm just going to keep Devontae and Chase in, man. But I like all 4 of them this week. I like all 4.
Only close one would be McLaurin and Chase for me, just because I think Scary Terry's the new D-Hop, and he can just literally catch anything.
Yeah, I don't know how you can sit any of those 4 this week. Devontae, obviously, he's the most sittable based on the matchup, but the degree at which Rodgers will look his way and will need him and how good he is, it doesn't matter that he's being guarded by Jalen Ramsey. So it's like, even though he has the toughest matchup, he is the toughest matchup. You know what I mean? You may say, "Oh, he's got the toughest matchup." Well, he is. You know who has the toughest matchup? Jalen Ramsey has the toughest matchup.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm just going to stick with what you have.
All right, Alan, with another one here. Start Lockett or Mike Williams?
I like Mike Williams. He had the one big play last week, was kind of involved. Before that, I think he's a little more consistent. They're playing. Yeah, I know. They're playing in Mile High. I like Mike Williams this week. You know what? I'm going to go Lockett. I got a feeling.
Who is this guy?
I got a feeling Lockett's going to have a game on Monday night. This is like a new feeling I'm getting tonight. I just have a feeling. It's been too long since Lockett has done something of meaning, and this offense is struggling. They need someone who could take the lid off, and they need somebody who can get deep, and you can beat Washington in that manner. They need him this week. They need him this week more than they ever have before. And it's been so long since he's done something meaningful. And I think it's Monday night. I got a feeling, Rob. I got to ride it.
The tingle.
People are either going to be real happy with me or real pissed at me. And that's okay. But I got this feeling about Tyler Lockett this week. I don't know what it is. I don't even like him. I just got a feeling.
All right, start one. Elijah Mitchell, Damon Harris, or Ty Johnson. You may be only to start Ty Johnson by tomorrow.
If Stevenson doesn't go, it has to be Harris. But if Stevenson goes and he's full and there's no worries at all, I think I would go Ty Johnson. He's just been so productive. They got a nice, easy matchup. He's going to get more catches and more rushes than he ever has this year. So keep an eye on Stevenson. So it's Harris if Stevenson is out or news doesn't sound good leading up to the game. Ty Johnson if Stevenson's full go.
All right, Josue. Shenault is my wide receiver 2 since Lamb was out. Yeah, man. Shenault should have a good game if he takes over that Agnew role. Jeremy, I assume to play DK and Pittman. So for flex, Hollywood Brown, Boyd, J-Rob, or Freiermuth.
I like Hollywood Brown. Let's just see how he bounces back. Since they have Bateman, he's not as valuable. Boyd's good, but they got other options. Freiermuth. I'm going to go J-Rob in my flex. I'm going to go J-Rob.
Yeah, I'm thinking J-Rob too. Freiermuth is actually kind of tempting to a certain degree too.
Yeah.
He's the new Heath Miller.
He is.
But J-Rob, he just touches the ball way too much. Mm-hmm. Would you risk Boyd over Waddle? Ooh.
It's close. Closer than it should be. I just think a really good defense. I mean, I have to look, but if my memory serves me correctly, like, I imagine they played the Bills this year, the Patriots. I'm going to assume, maybe you could look this up, Rob, real quick, that when Waddle has played these tougher defenses and secondaries, he's probably underperformed. He's probably gotten like 2 or 3 or 4 catches for like 30 yards if he's played them. And that's what I'm worried could kind of happen here. And it'll be just a total underwhelming performance from Waddle. Then you have Boyd, who is one of 3 fine options. Never really gets above the 6 for 60 because of it. So his ceiling is limited, but he might have a higher floor this week. What's Waddle got for those tougher matchups?
So the first week against New England, he had 5 targets for 4 receptions, 61 yards and a touchdown. But Buffalo the following week, 8 targets, 6 receptions for 48. And then the last time they played Buffalo, he had 12 targets, but only 4 receptions for 29.
Right. And I feel like that could be Waddle's floor in this one. And so if you want to be safe, I feel like Boyd is a safer play this week because of the matchup. But if you need upside, which Jeremy, you mentioned that you're behind because of who you played and who you're going against, you might have to play Waddle because you need the upside. And I don't think Boyd gives you the same upside that Waddle could give you 10 for a buck 20 and 2. Boyd's not giving you that stat line. Boyd's going to give you 6 for 60 and 1 at best. So I would go Waddle if you need the upside. Boyd if you feel pretty comfortable and you just need a safe 6 to 10 points.
All right. And he also played Indy, which he had 4 targets for 3 receptions, and then Tampa Bay also 6 targets for 2 receptions. So when he plays the tougher defenses is when it seems to be a little bit off. But yeah, I think you're right. Waddle would have to be the choice, especially if you're down already and he has the most upside.
That's what I mean. That's what I figured. Rookie wide receivers against tough defenses, it's something you always got to watch out for. I had a feeling that he underwhelms sometimes. He gets a ton of targets, but the defense is right there. But Tua keeps looking his way, and that's why he's got the upside.
All right. Darko, I think since the Giants offensive coordinator was fired, the new told their shiny new 40-millimeter receiver, Galladay.
So they're talking about how you Sutton.
Oh, gotcha.
We pay him. I mean, yes.
40 mil, sorry.
I agree with you there. But the only difference for this is that I don't feel like Galladay is that good anymore. But Darko, with no Tony and no Shepard, and with my feeling that the Giants do giant things and the NFL the way it is, Galladay will probably have a good week for you, buddy.
All right, Jeremy, A-Rod or Wilson?
A-Rod.
Agreed. Darko, well, talking about that, BMW, Galladay, or Bateman?
Mile High worries me just a little with BMW, Mike Williams. But I do think he'll be all right. And I think Bateman will be all right. But Darko, come on, man. Put your money where your mouth is. Use Galladay.
You know what? I would probably use Galladay just because you're right. With those two guys being out, I mean, the target share has to go somewhere. Yeah, you're right. I don't think it's Johnson. I don't think it's Slayton. Galladay's going to be looked to, but he is a step slower. But he is a big body. You got to think about it from that perspective too.
If there ever was a week that Kenny Galladay should show up, it's this week. And you know, if I were a Kenny Galladay owner, maybe I was really wasted on draft night, and I was using him and then thought maybe I would bench him, or I picked him up and I was waiting for him to have a good game so then I could use him the next week, I would want to punch myself in the butt for not using him this week and being behind it, because I feel like if there ever was a week for Galladay to have a good game, it's this week. It's at home, just like you just said, new offensive coordinator, division game, backs against the wall, no other wide receivers to throw to. I mean, the stars are aligning. Use your boy. Use your boy. Do it, Darko. Galladay.
All right, Jeremy, Waddle is an ABG where I already played Bonte, and I'm stuck playing Coleman.
So put him in. You need some upside.
Yeah, I agree. I would take Waddle for that part. All right, Crowder, BMW, Melvin Gordon, Hilliard, Crowder, or Collins. One running back, one flex.
Can I play both Crowders? You know what? Running back, I think that did we recommend Collins over Gordon before? Or is that a different question?
I think that was a different question.
Because I kind of feel like I would go Gordon. And I think I would go Crowder. Zach Wilson loves him, no?
Yes and no. Eli Moore was kind of taking over that role a little bit. But Wilson hasn't played in 4 weeks. They're going to have to throw the ball. They could throw the ball against this Houston team. I would probably play Crowder, and if I had to choose a running back, I'm going Collins.
Okay.
I mean, Mike Williams is very close, though. Mile high. That should be a shootout to a certain degree. I mean, Herbert looked really, really good last week, and I hate the ebbs and flows. And Herbert, I'm trusting in more. So you know what? I probably actually would go Mike Williams and Collins over Crowder. And he's a good safety net, but he's not the only safety net over there. You mentioned Griffin. Ty Johnson could be that dump off guy. If Corey Davis doesn't go, Barrios tends to have a good relationship with Wilson as well. So
that's true. All right. So use Big Mike, but I'm going to say Gordon and running back because he's getting a touchdown. He's getting at least one. He's going to steal one from Javonte.
All right. There's no more questions here.
Adib.
Remember, guys, always like us. Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Patreon. My son said, I said, make sure you follow us all on this when I'm doing our videos and stuff like that. He goes, Dad, you subscribe to YouTube. You don't follow on YouTube. I said, my bad. I'll make sure to say that on the show this week. So subscribe to YouTube for Zach. And always, thanks for watching, guys.
God, kids, they're know.
So funny, man. He's just so fun the way I agree.
He's right. We're saying it like old people.
Yeah.
We're saying it like old people.
He's 100% correct. Yeah,
oh, follow us, you youngins. Like that's just like
hit the thumbs up button, man.
Yeah. Hit the one with the arrow. Point it. Would use the arrow to hit the hand.
Hit the hand. High fives everywhere.
But it's so true. I mean, because that's something that I can see like my students saying to me. He's like, "What are you talking about? Like that's not what you do on TikTok." Well, what do you mean? Well, we're getting on tangent here. We got a couple other questions.
Yeah, real quick. Yep, missed the start of the show. Don't like Hilliard.
I mean, really, no. I mean, startable if you need to. Anything special? No. Just no. I mean, Dontrell, it was the Browns, right? Where Dontrell got his start, and we thought it was good, and since then, they've cut him and brought in 18 other running backs. I mean, they would have kept him if he was anything. Decent last week. He's their number one. Very tough defense they're playing against. So, I mean, again, this just falls into everybody loved Adrian Peterson. Why? Because of his name and because he was filling Derrick Henry's shoes. Well, now that they want to love Hilliard, I'll tell you this much, Darko. I like him more than I liked Adrian Peterson. I like him more than I like D'Onta Foreman, except in 2017, I liked D'Onta Foreman more. So it's not that I don't like Hilliard. I think that he's the best option they've had at running back so far. But they got a very tough rush defense that they're playing against. And there's nothing excites me about it. I would have to have no better option than to use him against the Patriots.
I'm just looking up information for the next question that Jeremy has. Sorry, I kind of wasn't paying attention there to what you were saying. My bad. How many years have you guys played fantasy? How many championships?
Fantasize means what? Season 16? Is that what it says? S.16?
I believe so, yeah.
And I got 5 championship plaques on the wall from that league, and I lost 3 Super Bowls. So I've been in 8 Super Bowls out of 15 seasons so far, because this is the 16th. Won Dynasty, I believe, once, but I lost 2 Super Bowls, and that's in 6 seasons, right? That's season 6, or is it season 8? Dynasty.
Oh, season 8. Wow, is it already season 8?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, so and I won a couple in other smaller leagues, couple second place.
Yeah, season 8. Holy moly!
Bunch of Super Bowl losses, but always kind of get to the playoffs. And this year's, I'm not gonna lie to anybody. This is the toughest year. I don't think I have any teams that are solid in the playoffs right now. Out of 6 leagues, I'm like right there at like 8, average 6. Like I'm not. It's tough. It's tough out there.
For me, I have 16 trophies in total. It's I've been playing since 04. Holy crap. I didn't realize I was playing for that long, to be honest with you. 370 wins, 315 losses, 2 ties. I've been diamond level twice in Yahoo. 3 first place trophies, 6 second place trophies, and 7 third place trophies.
So you looked up all. You went to your trophy room.
I did.
Yeah, I got a lot in there because I got a lot of thirds and seconds.
Yeah, 7 and 6. I mean, 13 out of my 16 are second and third place.
Can you click on mine? Well, you can't see my trophy room. Maybe if you click my name.
Yeah, let me try to see if I can look you up.
Real quick, I'll answer. Jeremy, 8 years, 2 Super Bowls, 1 win. That's not that bad, buddy. You got to give yourself more credit. That's not too bad. Most people, listen, we got the one league, our most important league, 16 seasons. I mean, we've had some changeover of managers. We've had some changeover, but for the most part, we've had the majority of the same guys, at least like 10 out of the 14, maybe 8 to 10 out of the 14. Some of them have never been to one Super Bowl. Never. There's guys that, hold on, I'll grab the trophy. There's guys' names that aren't even on this thing that have been playing since the first season. Hold on one second. Because I remember, Rob, you gave it to me.
I did give it. It was my trophy. I had it at my house. I was supposed to keep it till Super Bowl, but I'm moving. So I had to give it back to Guest so that he can keep it nice and warm for me until I am ready to take it back again.
Okay. See, there's like, you got the nicknames and things on the side, and then
yep,
the other years here. There's Rob. See,
it's Rob.
But see, like, there's some people on here. Like, you look at Larry in 2018. He'd been playing ever since 2006, so that's 12 years. That was the first Super Bowl he ever made, and he won it. And then he hasn't gone back the last 2 years when I won and then Rob won. So there's guys in this league that have been playing for all 16 seasons. The person I'm playing against this week, Herm, he has never made a Super Bowl. 16 years. So if you've been playing 8 years, you made it to 2 and you won 1. That's not too bad, buddy.
Just to give you your stats, 406 wins, 263 losses, 0 ties. You've been a diamond level 6 times, 22 trophies with 45 teams. You got 12 first place trophies, 6 second place trophies, and 4 third place trophies.
Not too bad. 6 times diamond. What does that mean? I don't even know.
So there's different levels that you can have in ratings. So you can have gold, platinum, diamond, and there's like scores that Yahoo gives you. So you've been diamond 6 times, which is above 900 rating. You're currently at a 901.
Sounds interesting. Pretty good. We'll see. What's your rating?
I have to go back and take a look. Give me a sec here. I am at a 914.
So you're ahead of me.
But remember, it's all based on all the different leagues that you have, the years that you've been playing, and so on and so forth. So 2021 right now, I am a little higher, but I am -3 since last week because I've been on this skid lately and fantasized me that I can't freaking win.
Oh yeah, I've been on a skid. Your teams are doing a little better than mine this year in both leagues.
I don't know what the hell's going on, but this year, right? This year has just been so different, man.
Yeah,
It's just been
yeah,
so different in so many different ways. And you're right. I'm in the middle of the pack. I'm five. No, I'm six and no, 5-6 in Dynasty, but I'm in sixth place. So I'm
right,
currently in the playoffs. But
right.
I have six other teams, I think, that are 5-6 in that same league. And
I
I
think
just
I'm
lead
one
it.
of
I
them.
lead in points. I lead in points. That's what it is.
Right.
My team loves to put up points against everybody, but I'm always playing the best team that week, it seems
Yep.
like.
Yep.
So
So it goes.
it is what it
Yeah.
is. Guys. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I heard of that too, Jeremy. You guys were playing where they had to check the newspaper the next day. Yeah, we were a little after that. I remember when I started, it was one of my last years of college, 16 years ago. Yeah, 2005, right around there, 2004, 2005. And then I remember the first time I played. Actually, I played in a year before that, and one of
It
my
shows you have
buddies.
06 as you're starting, at least on Yahoo.
Yeah, because what happened was, my buddy ran BC, ran the league before me for at least a season or two, and then like it just fell apart. Like the people he had, and then like nobody knew what they were doing, and BC just gave up on it. So I took it over, and when I took it over, I started a new Yahoo account because the Yahoo account I was using before was like, I don't even know. It was like the beginning of internet. You know what I mean? Almost, kind of. And so I was like, new Yahoo account, start the new league. Let's do it right. Let's make this a thing. And here we are, 16 years later. So I think I played 2 years before this. I might have even won one of the years, but I had no clue what I was doing. You know what I mean? College, in and out of the bar every single day and night. This was something. Football was like hungover eating chicken wings. I mean, not too much different now, but
Now I just play fantasy as well.
but it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same, and I tell you what, it wasn't the same. Nothing was the same because now, I mean, we're two guys in the basement that think we know anything, and we were just talking fantasy football for 5 years, and there's people participating like you, Jeremy. Back then, you couldn't find anything about fantasy. So it's like, just think how far it's gone in 16 years. Everybody's a fantasy expert, right? I mean, everywhere you go, there's fantasy news. And back then, there was nothing. You were just like, you just picking names
Watch
out of
the
a
games.
hat.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
watch the games to see who you were taking. I mean, that's what it came
yeah,
down to. One of
yeah.
my first years playing, I remember I chose LT, Damian Tomlinson. I'm just like, I know he's a good player. That's the guy I'm going to probably go with. I had like first pick. He ended up winning, I think, the league for me that year. But again, it's like same thing. I took a chance. Adrian Peterson, one of his fantastic years. I had Moss and Brady at one time. That I know I got deep playoff runs and stuff like that. It's really just it was from the eye, you know.
So
But
you
you're
look
right.
here, the very first season, Diddy's Bear Paws, that was me, guess, 2006. My first pick, and everybody laughed at me. My first pick in the second season in the NFL because I loved him in college at the University or at Miami. Frank Gore. Everybody laughed at me. Like, why are you picking that Frank Gore in the first round? He probably wasn't projected to be a first rounder, but I picked him because I was like, this guy's pretty good in college. He wasn't too great, but I'm going to pick one. He had an amazing year, and then I picked up off the bench because I think Drew Bledsoe got hurt. Tony Romo. And Tony Romo and Frank Gore led me to the championship. So
Nice.
the only reason to make your point, Rob, was because I watched Frank Gore in college, and I watched the football game where Drew Bledsoe got hurt and Tony Romo came in. And I didn't do it because somebody told me to. I didn't do it because I read news about him. I just watched the games and was like, I'll pick this guy. Now there's so much information, including us, two guys in the basement.
Oh yeah. And these two guys in the basement, if you look up hashtag answers by guess, you'll find us everywhere.
Everywhere.
As always, guys, thanks for watching. Good luck tomorrow. I know I'll be rooting for you as well as for my team. Guess, good luck to you too, sir. And let's rock it out.
Yes, Jeremy, that's correct. And yes. Good luck tomorrow. Be a little busy. But, and questions before 12:30, please, because that last half an hour gets hectic. I got to do all my errands and everything and my chores so that my wife lets me watch football because she's the best all day long. And in order to do so, I need to get everything done.
Prep the chicken wings, get the beer nice and cold. Or for
Sure.
you, seltzers.
Hey. I put my dress on and I drink my seltzers.
Yeah, less, dude, at our age, less heartburn. You're right with the seltzers, bro.
It's not even the heartburn. Well, it gets rid of the heartburn. That's the plus. It's the bloated. Like, I love beer, but I feel like when I drink beer, I get so full. If I wanted to really drink, Rob, what do I really drink if we're really drinking?
JD's and ginger ale.
Jack and ginger. Because that does the same. Ginger ale does the same. Helps your stomach, keeps you not bloated, burp it up. But if I'm not drinking Jack and ginger, I'll drink the White Claws. I don't care. I'm not ashamed. Because you know what? They go down like water. You know why? Because they are.
Or water. Oh, yeah.
And they keep you hydrated. You don't get full. You can drink a 12-pack and be on top of the moon. And eat close to 20 wings.
And still feel on top of the moon.
It's a girly drink, but I'm okay with my sexuality, so that's all right.
It happens, man. And you're right. Usually when I drink the beer, you have more than I do because I'm always so full from drinking all the beer. So
I like beer, but it just gets me so full. Too old.
All right, guys. Answers by guess. Good luck tomorrow.
Yes.
Peace out.
See you, everybody.